most of us spend more time working at work or however you want to describe it than we do with our families and the people that we love. And so it's an incredibly important part of our lives. And I can't stand this discussion around work-life balance. And the reason I can't stand it is it suggests that there's my life at work and my life at home, and I'm trying to balance the two things. And to me, that's just bullshit. We just have our life, and there's whatever we're doing. And if we spend all this time at work, I mean, what human being doesn't want to have some feeling of connection, some feeling of tribe, and some feeling of meaning around the work that they do?
Yeah.
And why is it we've lost that, or seem to have lost some of that?
Well, again, I think we have such a competency bias. We have lost a bias towards culture and character, because when you focus on something as concrete as like win or lose, you forget that those cultural aspects of asking yourself in an interview question, as opposed to just going through, you start asking questions just around like, what skills do you have? What's your greatest weakness? What's your greatest strengths? What are your references? You don't try to reveal the soul of someone. You try to get something to the rehearsed answers you want, right? So you don't ask something like what you just said about things like tribe and pride, like affection, respect, and pride. I ask my folks, hey, screw all these interview questions. After you just meet someone, ask yourself, did you feel a sense of affection? Did you feel a sense that there could have been mutual respect? And do you feel a sense of pride? Screw the rest of it, right? Like, and then you start thinking, well, if that's what I'm trying to find and reveal, like, screw the normal interview process. Because what's the normal interview process? What's your greatest weakness? Well, there's only 3 fucking answers to that. You know what they are? Oh, I work
I
too hard.
work too hard.
Some people say I'm too detail oriented, and the freaking hallmark card of it all, I care too much. So it's a third, a third, a third. That
How
doesn't
come
really
nobody says, hey, my biggest weakness, I'm a 49-year-old dyslexic, bald dude
yeah.
who doesn't give a fuck, and generally I'm lazy.
Yeah, and you don't really get a sense of like who the person is, and it wouldn't be a question if you're trying to date someone, right? I'm not sure like one of your top 3 questions, if you're trying to engender some sort of connectivity and chemistry. Hey, just before we get started, tell me what your greatest weakness is. It's so odd. You
You
know,
also used a word just a moment ago, Tony, that I find interesting in a business context. You used the word affection.
yeah, I also use love.
Yeah, so
Um,
why do you talk that way in a business? What do you mean affection? You know that in California, there are people who've been prosecuted for
yeah.
sexual harassment for the way they look at somebody. So what do you mean we need to be affectionate? What does that
Yeah,
mean?
I think that it's what you said, like, between work and home or work-life balance. I just think that our goal, or one of our goals, should be, if you think about it, there's only two sides, right? It's the time you spend with yourself and the time you spend with other people. And wherever those other people are, you want to surround yourself with good people. You always want to have positive imprinting on you. To have positive imprinting, you need to have some baseline of collegial affection. When I use that word affection, you have to feel that there's some level of care, that this person has a level of care, or you're willing to have a level of care for them. And, where does that come from? Well, it comes from having a baseline of chemistry. It's been proven unquestionably. If you just are trying to put in a mentorship program in a company, mentorship actually causes negative to neutral at best results if there's no baseline of a relationship or chemistry. You can't really mentor someone if you're just checking the boxes. So why have we come to low
In
engagement?
that case, doesn't it feel more like the cops, right? It's like, well, you're not my mentor. You're here like checking up on me. If I
Yeah.
don't have a relationship with you, right, I can feel threatened as opposed to feel like, oh, Tony's really on my side, right? Is
Yeah,
that what you're talking about?
Like, look, one of the renowned management gurus, Ken Blanchard, and Gary Ridge, one of his students who runs WD-40, which is amazing in that they have about 98% employee engagement. They've written something that I love, that statement, like, don't just mark my paper, help me get the A, right? So that's issue that we have. We've become procedural. We've become standard operating procedure. We SOPs. We want to check the boxes so that when someone doesn't have a seat on a plane, or we just assume that it's okay to drag some poor bastard off, and just that's what our book says. We get security. We just pull them off, and that's what happens. And we've lost the humanity because we have thought that the best way to scale and create value is taking actually the humanity out of it, is giving rules, guidelines, and compliance. And of course we need competency. Of course we need compliance. But we can't do it at the expense of character, values, and culture. The two are not mutually exclusive.
It's just so interesting to me, Tony, because it seems like everywhere I go now, I'm around people who want to have conversations about what is the role of companies or businesses in our world today. Because whether you want to look at it from a personal side, which is huge, the sort of increasing bifurcation of incomes and salaries and incentives and total comp from the top folks to the bottom folks that has materially changed over the last 30 or 40 years. Then there's the whole environmental discussion. There's a lot of things you could say, what's the role of an enterprise in the world? And what's cool to me is, at least, and you tell me where things are at, because this is a strange conversation, I think, to have with, I don't know if you call yourself a venture capitalist, we'll get to that in a sec, but that as an investor and as a company builder and entrepreneur, that you're having a conversation around, what not that long ago people would just call the mushy, airy-fairy, bullshitty, West Coasty crapola. And, can we get back to talking about margins and EBITDA, please?
Yeah, well, I'm not even sure the West Coast has it right. I mean, I think that there's a lot. You don't build culture just with foosball tables and colorful beanbag chairs, and the authenticity is something. I mean, look, you got your share of things happening in Silicon Valley right now, including the most valued private company, in Uber. So I think that. Authenticity will never go out of fashion. I promise you that, Chris. And I promise you that the companies that have the strongest long-term competitive advantage, they take a long view. They're very authentic. They have a care and respect for their colleagues. I'm proud of the fact. I mean, the partner I've known the longest in my firm is 30 years. The one that I've known the least is 16. Okay. I mean, I just don't think it has to be a way where people are churning and have to be in 5 positions in 6 years. I think we have to remember that people need competency. They need the extrinsic reward. But the greatest competitive advantage is when you deliver to someone intrinsic, meaning you help people have a higher expression of themselves. You will get the best out of them, and you will get great value creation. I am a capitalist in every sense of the word, but I do believe that the way to create value is not to place profit as the sole purpose. You need to, as Mats Lederhaus, my partner, says, you got to put purpose before product and product before profit. Purpose before product and product before profit. That is how. Yeah, roll your eyes there. I gotta say it. Your purpose.
No, I'm letting it settle into my brain.
Then the profit, and that is what creates value. Financial results are the byproduct of something else, and anyone can be able. We kind of also define success just monetarily. Well, it's much easier to do value capture than real long-term value creation. So much of the success, you say, why have we gone that way? Because we measure people's success people are brilliant if they've managed to just capture value in a sub-second window, almost like a quant trader. Well, I don't think that's the role of business. I think the role of business is to, obviously, besides creating value for all shareholders, you got to turn something back to those stakeholders, your employees, your client base, and the society that supported you. You just got to.